welcome back to Daleks Aren't Robots.
What?
Yep, they're not robots. They are, in fact, not robots. More on that in a bit.
Our title needs more interrobangs.
I'm Josh. The two you just heard are Kari.
Hello.
And Justin.
Hello.
And the one you're not hearing yet is Zach.
Hello. Yes, that's me. Yes, hi.
Well put. Zach and I are Whovians. Kari and Justin are non-Whovians, and we're continuing our trek through Doctor Who.
I don't think you're allowed to use the word trek.
Wrong podcast?
Yeah.
We're continuing our voyage through Doctor Who, and we're still trying to get Kari and Justin to at least tolerate NuWho. It's been rocky.
Not going great.
It's not going great, but
It's been rough.
maybe that'll change this time as we cover Dalek, the first instance of Daleks in NuWho. Justin, care to recap the events?
The story was actually pretty simple. The TARDIS gets a distress call that the Doctor follows to a complex that's underground. It's kind of a museum of alien stuff.
Yeah.
Turns out that there's this parody of an American capitalist. Like, it's basically what a 10-year-old would think an evil millionaire is. Because they have him walking down the hall, flanked by his guards and his attaches, and he's like, "Have the president fired," and crap like that.
Oh my god, he is Lord Business from the Lego movie, isn't
Yes,
he?
exactly.
I can't unsee it now.
Anyway, basically, the Doctor and Rose get taken captive. The Doctor is thrown into a room with this alien being that the guy has.
A Metaltron.
Yeah, the Metaltron, as he calls it.
Yeah.
They toss the Doctor in there. It turns out it's a Dalek, last surviving Dalek.
Allegedly.
Which leads to the Doctor freaking out, the Dalek freaking out, everybody freaking out. Eventually, the Doctor gets pulled out of there when he starts trying to kill the Dalek,
Yes.
who has been being tortured all this time
Yes.
by this capitalist
For reasons.
for reasons. Meanwhile, Rose and another character whose name I refuse to remember.
Adam.
Okay, who works for the capitalist guy. They make their way down to the alien after they take the Doctor out of there.
Kari literally sent me and Zach a couple of questions on this episode, and in those questions, she referred to Adam as Henry.
He looks
Okay.
like a Henry. What can I say?
Might as well be.
So I shall now dub him Henry.
No.
That's fine. So Rose and Henry make their way in to see the Dalek. Rose doesn't know anything about the Daleks.
No.
Because the Doctor tells her, fuck all.
Yeah. So she just sees this alien who's been tortured
Yeah.
and has empathy for it. So she walks up and touches it, and it absorbs her life force or copies her DNA. It's very unclear.
It extrapolates her DNA.
Yeah, which somehow reinvigorates it for some reason. So it gets out. It sucks a bunch of power from the place. So power goes down. There's a million scenes of this billionaire's private army trying to shoot it and it not caring.
And killing them mostly.
Just endless scenes of people. It's like they don't even give us a chance to miss unit, basically.
It's like that part in Prince of Space where your guns are useless
Yeah.
against me. And then they just keep trying to kill him with
They
guns.
just keep shooting over and over again.
Yeah.
over and over and over again. And nobody even tries like a grenade or anything.
Yeah.
The Doctor kind of states that maybe they could overwhelm its weird
Yeah.
shielding.
But he's not really thinking clearly. He is
No.
pretty consumed by the desire to basically see this last Dalek killed.
I just realized, though, they don't even get bigger guns.
No, they don't. They just use more.
Yep.
Over and over.
Anyway, it's Rose this time who's able to. She realizes that this Dalek, because of the DNA it absorbed from her for some reason, is evolving beyond its genetic predisposition to be a Dalek.
It's a Pokemon. Dalek
Yeah.
is evolving.
It is super effective.
So basically, in the end, the Dalek kills itself.
Yep.
Got into the sunlight for a minute, opened up its casing, so we saw the little squid brain thing, and then it just, because it couldn't do anything without orders for some reason, it asked Rose to tell it to kill itself, and she does, and then it dies.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. The billionaire guy gets supplanted by his second in command.
Yay.
Henry hitches a ride in the TARDIS.
Yep.
Did the Doctor actually apologize to Rose?
I don't think so, no.
Of course he didn't. Okay, so yeah, then they all get out of there, and
The Doctor apologizing, you silly fool. cool.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about this Ian number 47, you guys.
You think this is a bad Ian? This is
Yeah, I think they might throw him back.
He barely qualifies as an Ian.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a low bar.
I have a theory. We'll get there. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the doctor.
All right. I will say, in my opinion, Eccleston owns this episode.
Yeah, he does a really good job of this is not an episode where we're supposed to be on the doctor's side.
No, it's not.
He's obviously extremely traumatized.
Very traumatized.
And it is all set off by seeing this Dalek.
Yep.
And he does a really good job with it.
One of the things that I really like is he's not in manic panic mode the whole time. He has moments of clarity where it's okay, I still see why he's trying to repress stuff, or Van Staten might be kind of sort of maybe listening to him.
Well, his first reaction is terror. He tries to run out of the room and pounds on the door, and he tries to escape and he can't.
Yeah, he freaks out.
And then he figures out that it can't hurt him, and he just starts yelling at it and talks about how he wants it dead. And then he even tortures it finally. He hits the pain button or whatever and zaps it a couple of times.
If we're on this scene, I would actually like to talk about something there. And Zach, if you can get up some production notes on Eccleston's performance in that scene.
He was really good.
I would like to bring up, this episode is actually sort of kind of not really an adaptation.
Okay.
So Robert Shearman, who wrote this episode, previously wrote a audio serial called Jubilee, which is a much more expansive, multi-layered, politically driven story. He basically just took the part at the end of that serial where the Dalek escapes and starts murdering everybody and turned it into a full episode on its own. I'll get into some more of that later, but one of the things I want to bring up is that scene where the Doctor meets the Dalek for the first time is almost a beat for beat recreation of a scene where the Sixth Doctor in that story meets a captured Dalek, but the performance is very different. The Sixth Doctor plays it a lot more mockingly and almost sort of in this snooty, aha, I have the high ground and you don't, neener way. Whereas Eccleston is just...
He is freaked the fuck right out.
Almost primal.
I assume that with the Sixth Doctor, it wasn't also after his entire species got wiped out in a giant war with the Daleks either.
Right.
And this is where I want to throw it to Zach, because we should really thank Eccleston for that acting choice.
As scripted and as directed, he was supposed to be mocking and flippant. It was Eccleston's choice to add all of the rage and pain into the performance, and even so much that he insisted that when he foams and spits, that stay in, because he felt like it.
Oh yeah,
was a necessary part of the performance.
No, it was very good. So he's a war vet, obviously. With severe PTSD, as far as I can tell.
Yes,
and one of his triggers is obviously Daleks. He also has, at least he claims to have canon genocided the Daleks. 10 million of their ships apparently burned. And also all of the Time Lords died in the war as well. I wanted to know, did the show get any blowback on that?
Okay, so...
I don't have anything specific on the genocide.
I don't have anything specific on the genocide either. I can only really talk about fan reaction at the time, because that's where I was. I didn't read British press or anything like that. I don't know if there was, a series of pearl clutchers screaming, "Think of the children," when that episode aired or not. But new fans obviously coming in, they didn't know if that was against character or against the show at this point. It's still all very fresh. So they're like, okay.
They weren't familiar with the canon.
And classic fans, the few I spoke to were like, oh, he did it again. Minor spoilers. This is not the first time the Doctor genocided the Daleks. It has real trouble sticking, let's say.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, the Daleks are tremendously popular. We knew that they'd come back.
It's not just the Daleks that he genocides. So.
Yeah.
Plus, time is kind of,
Yeah.
And, the Time War was already established. We already knew that the Time Lords were wiped out by something. We already got a sense that the Doctor was feeling guilty about whatever the something was. So it it mostly fit in with what had been established for both new and old fans. Like if old fans were complaining, they were upset that Gallifrey got destroyed at all.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Vulcan.
Yeah.
They have the cool hats there. Why did you do that? I like the hats.
Yeah.
Media and people were much more offended by other things in the episode than the implication aside.
Okay.
Oh, I'm very curious about that.
Can we
Okay.
bring up that rating that it got?
This is for the DVD release, and the British Board of Film Classification gave it a 12 rating, which is basically their PG-13, because they said it showed violence and cruelty as a way of dealing with problems and showed a Dalek being tortured.
And the Doctor was tortured.
Yes.
I mean, it did, but I don't think the show took the side of doing
I mean,
that.
the whole
No.
point of the episode, as far as I can tell, is, hey, expressing your traumatic emotions through only violence is bad.
Yeah, the show definitely didn't endorse that.
No.
In Britain, it doesn't matter endorsing, it matters showing. Various media watchdogs in Britain got on a throwaway line that Van Sant has where he tells Rosenham to canoodle or spoon because of the implied sexual meaning.
Oh my god, whatever.
This is what they're obsessing over instead of,
Who is Adam?
Henry.
Oh,
Ian 47.
he's not an ant. He doesn't deserve to be an ant.
He is an Ia at best.
I mean, Ian didn't deserve to be an Ian right away, so
Yeah, he's the first though.
true.
I honestly can't tell if you literally forgot Henry was really named Adam or if.
I certainly did.
Anyway, the one last thing I want to mention before moving on is we already talked about how Eccleston was directed to play it more jokey.
Yeah, more smugly.
Apparently, when Eccleston was giving his performance, Robert Shearman, who wrote the episode, hated it and was viciously angry offset.
And see, if he had been portrayed as smug, I think I would have hated the Doctor.
Yeah, that would not have worked.
But then Shearman did like how it turned out.
Yes.
Also, that works for the Sixth Doctor. It doesn't work for this Doctor.
No.
Right,
I was just going to say the Sixth Doctor is kind of designed to be insufferable.
right.
If you need reference, he's the one with the jacket.
Oh, yeah. Well, and this one is mostly charming, but very immature. It fit to have that kind of an emotional reaction.
Also,
Mhm.
it fits the story. The whole story is built on paralleling the Doctor with the Dalek.
Yes.
And the idea is they're both viciously angry. If the Doctor played it smugly,
It doesn't work.
no. And that scene is the linchpin to the whole episode. You need
is.
to believe that scene for anything in the story to matter.
Yeah.
So I would like to credit Eccleston as like just carrying this episode on his back.
Yes.
He saved
He
it.
really did. Yeah, I really liked the Doctor in this one. There was one other scene that I wanted to mention where we see the Doctor shirtless again. I guess we're gonna get to see that a bunch of times here, but like I felt bad because I know his eating disorder was hitting him hard.
Yeah.
And like I also, less importantly, also I missed the Doctor's tattoo and his jewelry. Like this
Mhm.
Doctor is too traumatized to be fancy, and that's sad.
He's a little too fresh. He hasn't had a tattoo or anything, and that all comes off in the regeneration.
Yeah, he needs like something sparkly or a locket or maybe like a cool hairstyle. Maybe put some gel in there. I don't know. Something.
Hair isn't
Needs-
long enough for that.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
he needs some fancier stuff somehow. Maybe some lace. That worked for 3.
Maybe the hair gel will come in the next iteration. Who knows? All right, so let's talk about Rose.
This is actually the first episode where I've actually liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's at best been just kind of there, but this is the first one where she's, because the Doctor has his issues in this one, she's the one who is having to be the heart of this episode. Her empathy is the one what sees them through.
Her empathy is what literally turns the Dalek.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he doesn't tell her anything.
No.
No.
So she has no idea.
Yeah, there's no way that she could know anything about the
She
Dalek.
just knows that, hey, this alien is in pain.
And it is in pain.
Yes.
Like Daleks lie all the time, but like, no, this Dalek was actually being tortured and it was actually awful.
I do think it was maybe playing up its patheticness in the beginning a little bit to try
Oh, yeah.
and
definitely.
Probably.
get Rose.
But it was still being tortured.
Yeah.
It was.
Yes.
And Rose is the one who saves everyone because the Dalek immolates itself for her,
Yeah.
which at least it wasn't for the Doctor this time.
Yeah. Also, technically, not a woman. I mean,
No.
maybe.
Well, yeah, who knows? It's hard to tell.
We'll get on
Like-
that, I think.
Yeah, and like I have like a whole AU in my head where they like take the Dalek out of its casing and like teach it the meaning of Christmas, and Rose keeps it in a little pink purse like Paris Hilton had her little chihuahua in, and she could even give it a pink bow. I mean, it could be a girl Dalek or maybe a boy Dalek that likes pink. We don't know, or an NB Dalek. Do Daleks even have gender?
They've never properly addressed whether or not Daleks have gender.
I don't imagine their creator would have included that.
No, I also think that, like, and this is probably really awful to say, but I feel like if Daleks had a sense of gender and one of the Daleks decided it wanted to be referred to as she, it would be exterminated for being deviant.
Yeah.
That's how Daleks work.
That is true. So my headcanon then for this AU is definitely a pink bow on the Dalek. And it's still slimy and gross and looks like a Dalek, but it's got a cute pink bow on it.
I feel like this is also a time to bring up that Shearman fought with the BBC on a point at the end of this episode where the BBC strongly wanted the Dalek to be humanized and proclaim Rose its friend. And Shearman said, no, they're a parallel for fascists. It's better that it wants to die rather than be human.
The BBC allegedly wanted it to kill itself because it like was sad about all the murder it did. And Shearman was like, no, it wants to die because it's becoming not Dalek. And to a Dalek, that's a fate worse than death.
I mean, they left it unclear.
Yeah.
Enough that like all of those things probably played a part in that.
Yeah.
I don't think that it would be able to process those feelings, frankly.
Probably
like that
not.
would be intolerable.
I will also say that in the audio, it's a little more clear that the Dalek really hates itself and what it has become. Because something not quite like what happens in the episode does happen where the Dalek begins to gain empathy and is like,
Right.
oh, gross, feelings, I must die.
Yeah, but see, even if they're meant to represent fascism, that still leaves the problem of, okay, the fascist is now dead. It hasn't fixed anything.
No.
Like, that's the thing with the Dalek surviving, then it has to do the work.
Yeah, they weren't going to do that.
No, well, I just see the dearth of cute, adorable little pets in the show, and I keep trying to mentally add them.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And a pet Dalek would be cute.
It would be hilarious because it would want to murder everything, and Rose would have to be like, no, we're not going to kill it. It's okay.
If it helps, we get someone kind of like that in the future.
Well, yeah, it's the doctor. Duh.
I will say one of the sad things about Rose is that while Rose is a nice linchpin to the episode and a more active participant and stuff, she's also kind of the bland one.
Excuse me, Henry is in this
Yeah.
episode.
That is
Standing
true.
next to Henry.
I mean, if you stand next to a cardboard cutout of a British dude to make yourself interesting, that just doesn't help.
But yeah, not much to talk about with the TARDIS. We don't see the interior in this episode at all.
No.
I think this is the first time we don't see the inside of the TARDIS in an entire episode in NuWho.
NuWho.
Yeah, they just kind of get out.
Yeah,
Leave her there.
just park it in the middle of this museum floor room.
Hey, it's a better parking place than any of the classic Who places.
That's true. It didn't get
Yeah.
crushed with rubble.
Nope.
Or left in a ditch for a month.
Nope.
Or stuck in an Aztec tomb.
Nope. None of that.
I mean, there was the one time that Marco Polo dragged it across all of Asia.
Yeah.
I like to think that one of those poor soldiers who was getting killed by the Dalek decided to hide in there, and the TARDIS got a little snack.
Yep.
I do feel like it is an oversight in the episode that no one noticed the massive blue box that appeared in the middle of the showroom without.
It's not even on a plinth. Like if they had it materialize on a plinth or something so that it looked like it was supposed to be there, then yeah, I could see
Or
it.
if the doctor realized, oh, this is a museum, and just pulled out a handy like museum sign that he has.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, this isn't the first time that the Doctor has hid the TARDIS in a museum as a exhibit.
Yeah, all you'd have to do is like put a little like rope in front of it so that it looked like it was supposed to be there.
Yeah, although I'm now also kind of wondering, all that time Rose is running away from the Dalek, why didn't Rose just hide in the TARDIS? It's supposedly in the next room over.
Except it isn't. Its floor is separate. if you look at
Yeah,
the
I thought it
numbers.
was further down or something.
I know they said it was right next, but then they said they found them in floor 63, and then when they're being chased by the Dalek, they're on like floor 49.
But Van Staten, like the whole reason he's suspicious of them is that they appear on this floor right beside his new favorite exhibit. Fuck it, whatever. Who cares? Space is warped and time is bendable.
Wibbly wobbly.
Yes, indeed. All right, so let's move on to our supporting players. And why don't we start off with Henry Van Staten, who is
The evil Lord Business.
He is the evil Lord Business.
I mean, he's like a hauntingly prescient depiction of Jeff Bezos. But apart from that, he's really generic. And like the things that he's supposedly done or can do are stupid. Like being able to wipe people's minds and fire the president. It made it super clear that once again, the writers had no idea how American politics work. But, you know, it's not just that. They don't know how British or UN politics work either. So, okay.
In that particular case, I'm pretty sure that was a joke. A really broad, silly joke, but I'm pretty sure
it was a dumb joke.
It was.
When the Dalek is a more well-rounded bad guy than you, you're not doing well.
Yeah.
And I hope he doesn't come back.
Good news, he doesn't come back.
Good. Thank you.
Oh,
I feel better now.
Would it shock you at all to know, though, that he was originally going to be an even more obvious satire of American commerce?
How? Were they going to put a sign over his head that said, "I'm evil, ask me how"?
His original name was supposed to be Will Fences, and he was a computer designer who made it big and became the richest man in the world.
Oh, brother.
Bill Gates. Okay.
Will Fences.
Very clever.
Yuck. That apparently was a suggestion by Russell T. Davies.
That's the kind of satire that we've come to expect from NuWho.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Very subtle.
Very subtle and nuanced.
Don't you get it? They're fat and they fart.
I do feel like it's worth mentioning, since we talked about while watching, that the actor who played Van Staten is American and from Louisiana.
He was in The Mummy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thought so.
He was better in The Mummy.
But he doesn't sound American. I mean, he does, but he sounds like a Brit doing American.
Well, he trained for acting at a London acting school.
So he is completely gone native, quote unquote.
He does mainly British acting, to be fair to him.
So we're seeing a New Orleans guy who probably had a bit of a Southern drawl, who learned acting in London.
Well, maybe it was just him trying to suppress a Southern drawl
Maybe
That
that's
could
it.
be.
with a more generic American accent.
Maybe. All this time I thought he was suppressing a British accent. Turns out he was suppressing a Southern accent.
Yeah, I bet that's what it is.
Yeah, that actually makes
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, he doesn't do a bad job. He just has nothing to work
No,
with.
it's just the character is pretty dumb. That's not really on
He's
him.
playing a cartoon, but the character's written to be a cartoon. Like, what do you want him
Yeah.
to do?
I mean, it might have worked if he did an over-the-top New Orleans accent.
This
Might have been more fun
Yeah.
and more interesting at least, but
Yeah.
It would
whatever.
have been.
The only other thing I want to mention about Van Staten, because it does kind of grind me. So I already mentioned that this is a very, very, very loose adaptation of a story Robert Shearman wrote for the Big Finish audio dramas. Jubilee is primarily supposed to be about how marketing Nazism,
Yeah.
Nazis and Daleks and symbols of fascism in this sort of fun way that Britain had for years. Like, this is the country that thought Heil Honey, I'm Home was a good idea, had maybe diluted fascism to the point where Brits themselves were taking on fascist qualities without noticing it. The Van Staten character is sort of a combination of family of characters in the original who are basically the monarch, and the idea is they're just so desensitized to violence and authoritarianism that they take over. And I feel like taking that character who was a British figure and it being a very self-reflective satire and turning him into an American does kind of push that off a little bit.
All those themes really aren't present in this episode. episode, I don't think.
They're really not. I mean, they kind of are, but it's explicitly about the Doctor. And the Doctor and the Daleks seem to bond a lot more about being soldiers of this big bloody war.
Right.
The Jubilee ties are vaguer than I think Shearman wanted them to be.
Yeah, I've been told a lot of the earlier drafts of the script got a lot more into Van Staten, but time constraints and the main focus of this episode was make Daleks scary.
I'm glad they cut those.
Also, Davies didn't like any of that.
Of course he didn't.
Almost everything that you talked about that being in Jubilee, Davies did not want in this episode.
Well, I'm glad they cut it because there just wasn't enough time and they went a different direction. It would have been good to include that as a different thing.
Yeah.
But it just would have taken away from the Dalek stuff, I feel like, if they had spent a bunch of time on that.
I don't know. It's also possible I just really don't like it when the Brits go, oh, you Americans.
Yeah, they used to say that until Brexit happened.
Yeah.
They don't say that as much anymore.
Because Americans never denigrate other countries in their media.
Oh, we do all the time.
True.
And getting honest for the capitalism stuff is very reasonable, frankly.
Yeah, it is. I'll be honest, Van Staten, I was expecting to have aged a little poorly, but no, he actually, if anything, is more prescient than I gave him credit for at the time.
He's basically just a broad caricature, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah. But like I look at other broad caricatures and they're either like Mr. Burns, where like being wealthy isn't really part of his evilness, it's just a quirk, or it's like they're fun, big, evil capitalist guys. And Van Staten's neither of those things. He's just a self-indulgent man who has the power to do whatever he wants.
Yep.
All right, on to his second in command then, I guess.
Diana Goddard. She works for Van Staten. She kind of leads a rebellion against him at the end. And she says she's going to wipe his mind and leave him somewhere as a homeless, crazy person. But she's also kind of a jerk. So it's like, it's really kind of unclear whether this is any kind of an improvement. Like, does she come back?
No, she doesn't. But
Good.
The writer of this episode wrote a novelization of this episode. And in that, she's a federal agent leading an investigation against him and arrests him at the end of the novel.
And it's actually kind of weird because I did get that vibe at the end.
That does kind of fit.
Like she was waiting for him to screw up.
That makes sense. And see, that would have been more interesting if they had shown that.
Yeah.
I don't know why they cut that.
Maybe they were afraid like it was too big a complication to throw in at the end.
I don't think so. They already had a weird postlude thing.
True.
Yeah.
The other thing that I find interesting about that is that would make a way more optimistic ending than what we got.
Here comes the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would like explain why she took over so quickly and started listening to the doctor so much and ignoring Van Staten.
And why she was pretending to be a jerk at the beginning.
Yeah. Henry.
Let's talk about Henry. Like, I initially got his name wrong because I just don't care. And like, he's this British nerd guy who thinks he's super smart. He works for Van Staten. At the end, he goes with Rose and the doctor on the TARDIS. And like, I wanted to know if he becomes a companion, and I have a theory about that.
How about you tell the theory first before?
Yeah, I'm going to tell the theory first, okay? Because I have not been spoiled on this guy at all somehow. So here's my theory. He's going to go one of two ways. One, he is not what he appears, and he'll end up being a bad guy, maybe the big bad. Ooh. Or two, he is what he appears and he will die horribly to show that shit just got real. Like, he'll be like the extreme Worf of the season. Those are my theories.
Interesting theories. He's definitely in the next episode.
Okay. Well,
I will also say, in a lot of fans' viewpoints, he's more of a companion than Liz Shaw because he travels in the TARDIS.
Oh, fuck them.
I'm gonna say, Kari, I think those theories land a tiny bit closer than you were maybe expecting.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes me happy then.
Otherwise, yeah, there's not much to talk about with Adam Henry, Ian 45.
I don't like him. He's boring.
and annoying. I find him
I don't
annoying.
find him annoying yet. I just think he's like, oh, I'm so smart. But,
He's
like,
super bland.
yeah, he's bland, and I feel kind of sorry for him because he's one of those smart people who's like super smart, but then he lands this terrible job with this awful person, and it's like he doesn't see a way out of that, and he's smart by the book, but in real life, he's not navigating it very well.
At the same time, though, he doesn't seem to have any real qualms about working for this terrible person other than, oh no, he might come at me.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I don't really care what happens up to him, so...
Yeah.
Also, I should probably mention the actor, Bruno Langley, best known for Coronation Street, was in 2017 accused of sexual assault and pled guilty and sentenced.
Oh my God.
What is it with this show?
This is starting to look like a really bad set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Eccleston and what's that actress's name that plays Rose?
Billy Piper.
Yeah, Piper. Like, Eccleston and Piper do not deserve this bullshit.
It actually gets worse because there's an interview. So prior to this, Bruno Langley was known for Coronation Street, where he apparently played a gay character. Am I right in that, Zach?
He was the first openly gay character on Coronation Street, and even after the sexual assault, some people still consider him a gay icon.
Despite the fact that he's not gay.
Yeah, that's not the... No.
And in fact, in that interview, he sounds very excited to prove his heterosexuality by hitting on Billy Piper in the episode, and goes on about how hot Billy Piper is, which in context now is very creepy.
Yeah.
I don't ship it.
Well, fortunately, neither does anyone else. But yeah, I think that's all we want on Adam.
Hell no, let's talk about the Dalek.
Yeah.
The last Dalek ever, I'm sure.
They're gone forever.
Ever, I promise. Oh, I felt bad for the poor thing. It had been held captive and tortured by Lord Business like a lot.
Yeah.
And specifically, it had spent like a lot of time screaming. And I was honestly on the Dalek side for a lot of this. All of the humans were holding it captive and the doctor tortured it. And like, what do you expect it to do once it gets loose if you do that?
Yeah.
Like, the only person who was nice to it was Rose, and the Dalek did end up sparing her and then begging to die since it actually was suffering legit. Like, it got in a really good burn on the doctor too when it said he'd make a good Dalek.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
That was funny.
The Dalek from moment one was figuring out how to push the doctor's buttons.
Yes.
Let me ask, has there been a story before this, classic Who, where it was basically the doctor and one Dalek kind of going back and forth like that?
In the show, no. Again, this is based on an audio drama where that does kind of happen.
Well, yeah.
Well, not with a Dalek, but with a Dalek adjacent character, yes.
I'm mostly wondering if this is the first time that we've actually had a quote-unquote individual Dalek as a character rather than just as a faceless extension of the race.
I think technically people would say yes. I'm actually going to say no.
Yeah.
Because there is a scene from the Seventh Doctor era that I know thematically has a lot of parallels to this Dalek in this episode.
Interesting.
Okay.
Also, it depends on how you count a certain character that was referenced in this episode.
Yeah. Also, there's like Emperor Daleks and Lord Commander
and
Dalek.
we've seen the Dalek Commandant or whatever that had a pet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but it still didn't really have any kind of a different personality. I don't know.
I was just wondering if this is the first Dalek who could be said to be its own character.
Arguably, yes. I would still say no. When we get to the moment, we can talk about it and see what you think.
All right.
I like the design of the Dalek a lot in this one.
I like the colors that much.
Oh, the casing. Yeah, the casing it's kind of bland, but it's okay. What I like about the casing is that it exactly mirrors the interior of the TARDIS in the control room, which I really like. But I like the design particularly of the Dalek inside.
Yeah, it looked cool.
It looked really cool. It has one eye and it looks like it has like a scar where the other eye should be.
They actually did a good job of making it look strangely pathetic,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know if that's the right word.
Gross.
But pitiable.
But pitiable.
Pitiable,
Yeah,
I guess.
gross but pitiable. And it breathed like one of the brain slugs, which of course I loved. I could kind of see the impression of a mouth thing there, but it was clear that it was scarred up and it had been severely injured, I thought. It also doesn't seem to be unable to exist in ordinary air, because when it opens up the casing, it doesn't like shrivel and die or whatever. So I don't know if it's just got tubes stuck into its back or what.
I'm pretty sure it's got a series of things connecting it to life support systems within
Yeah,
in
probably,
the
but it
casing.
doesn't need to be in the case. It just
No.
needs to be connected.
And in fact, in the most recent era of Doctor Who, they've been experimenting with what Daleks could do if they were ever outside of the case. But that is way in the future for us.
Interesting. Well, and the Daleks can fly now, so steps aren't a problem. We have yet to see if ramps and blankets are murderous to them or magnets.
Yeah, Daleks have flown before.
Oh, they have. Okay. All right.
Technically, yes. But for a lot of people, this is the first shot of a Dalek floating that, like, people realized what was happening, because the old school special effects they used to have the Daleks floating were,
Doctor Who like.
yeah, let's go
It was
with
like
that.
something on Doctor Who.
Yes.
Okay.
But I actually want to go back to the look of the Dalek inside the casing because I know for a fact that Zach has a lot of cool production stuff on the Dalek in the casing that I am very eager to get to because it looks really good.
At one point, there was a little gloop of slime that came down, and I was like, oh.
Wet puppets.
It was delightful.
I also want to say this is, I believe, the first time we've seen a full, and I don't mean we like us on the podcast, I mean people watching the show saw what a Dalek looked like in full outside of a casing. I think up until this point, it's only been like hints of tentacle or like vague shots of green skin. I don't think anyone's seen a full design before now.
I'm glad they didn't go with the claw.
Yeah.
Not that we've focused on, but I think we've seen a green octopus-like thing before. It was a quick shot.
I know the brain thing was added in this episode.
Yes.
I like to think that they saw the brain slug episode and were like, we need to do that again. Because it breathes like the brain slugs.
Yeah, they decided they didn't want to go green because pretty much any of the shots before had been green in the classic series.
I mean, the ones that aren't black and white.
Well, yeah, but they kind of wanted to be a tentacled creature, and Russell T Davies had a very clear picture of what he wanted. He apparently drew doodles. As much as I searched, I could not find the doodles. I wish I could have.
Interesting.
And then him and the designer added a big brain to the octopus design.
Yeah.
Because they had the idea that it was mainly just a brain and tentacles that would look cool.
Sort of like MODOK, weak body, big old brain.
Well, it makes sense that everything would atrophy if they're all in there. And plus, it sounds like they've been genetically arranged. So, like, if you're going to arrange something to be in a case, you don't need anything really but a brain and things to operate the case.
Yeah, they made it using cone rubber, adding some animatronics, and they had like 3 or 4 people operating it.
It's amazing what you can do when you don't have like 14 cents and a bunch of scrap rubber to work with.
And then they tried to make it pulsate when it spoke because there was no mouth.
Right.
Like the brain slugs.
Right. Exactly.
I have no mouth and I must pulsate.
Yep.
Did they do it like with the brain slugs where they had an air bladder inside? I would imagine that's how it worked.
Well, they had animatronics so that the tentacles can move and the eye blinks. And I believe the animatronics also made it
Okay.
pulsate.
So it's a robo.
Oh God, Daleks are robots. My life is a lie. Our blog is a lie.
Then they had a variety of, levers and pulleys for other people to operate it because there was a lot of moving parts to the one Dalek.
Well, I liked it. I did like the whisk is a laser now. That's a big improvement. The plunger is just fucking plain old magic now.
Yeah, it can do whatever they want it to do.
It crushed a guy's skull.
It crushed a guy's skull, but it can press individual buttons
Yeah, on a keypad.
on a keypad. That's absolutely bullshit.
I loved how you saw it like kind of moving under there, but it was definitely not moving fast enough to input all of those numbers.
No, and that's ridiculous. Like plungers, we can add plungers to the list of things that Doctor Who writers do not understand. Right, with like teenage girls, nuclear power, and politics of any kind.
I will say that the plunger becoming magic was apparently because Robert Shearman was speaking to his girlfriend at the time.
Yes.
And she said, like, the Daleks aren't scary. And Robert Shearman's like, well, what isn't scary about the Daleks? And one of the first things she brought up was, like, they've got just a plunger for an arm. So he was like, I'm going to find a way to make that plunger scary.
No,
Well,
fail.
he still didn't do it.
No, fail. Although the head crushing was a little bit effective, but the buttons were ridiculous.
She gave him a whole list and he went out to prove every one of them. Like all of the common things people felt were weakness of the Daleks, he tried to show as a thing the Dalek could do.
That was absurd. But I mean, to be totally fair, the Doctor has a magic wand, so sure, they have a magic plunger, whatever.
Yeah.
The only part that I really didn't like about it was at the end where the Daleks balls, and I'm sorry, that sounds how it sounds, and there's nothing I can do about it. The Daleks balls fly off, and then it implodes. Like, that was ridiculous. I am assuming that is the first time the balls do that.
First and only time.
Because that was dumb.
What I thought was happening was that it was projecting a force field around itself and then exploding inside the force field. Because earlier we saw it deflecting bullets.
Yeah, that's true.
That would make sense. Well, and I have no problem with that or the exploding. It's just the balls were just like, this is stupid. This is dumb. Don't do that. No.
It's like an answer to a question that nobody asked.
Yeah, it's a very fanish thing to do. Like, oh, you know why the Daleks have those balls? It's because they can explode or whatever. And it's like, oh.
Like, you know why the Millennium Falcon has that gap at the front of the ship?
Yeah.
Because that used to be the escape pod
It is some solo
there.
fan level bullshit.
It doesn't really make sense to me that the Daleks would have a kill themselves off.
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, like if the explosion normally takes everything with it.
Oh, true.
And also, like,
That's why it had to contain it in the force field.
I could totally see the Daleks becoming suicide bombers, and especially if they're worried that they're injured and can't function, they would want to destroy themselves rather than be captured.
Right.
Like, their whole thing is kill everything, and if you can't kill everything, kill yourself.
Yeah, I had no problem with any of that. Just the balls themselves doing that is dumb.
Also, if we can go back to the design and the puppeting of the case, I actually really like the longer lights on the top of the head and the more movement that you now get out of the eye stalk. Obviously, prior to this, one of the problems with a Dalek is that you can't really see it emote.
Yeah, they're not expressive.
Right. They found a way to make you feel what the Dalek is feeling.
A little bit, but yeah, it focuses on Rose. They made like an eye-ish thing inside the thing so that you could see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go wide when it sees Rose and then contract again. It was clever.
Yeah.
So Justin, you mostly didn't like the color of it.
I just thought it was very drab. I was hoping to see something more like I don't know. Since it was in color, I was hoping to see something more like in the movie.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like the bronze Dalek design.
Yeah.
I like it, but you're right. It probably would be better in like a cherry red.
Classic Who tended more towards a silver Dalek with blue outlines, which I thought was okay, but I do miss the really bright, vibrant red color of a lot of them.
Or even just something brighter. It just struck me as very drab.
I couldn't find a proper like link to anything on this, but I've seen on a couple of wikis that allegedly they'd wanted the Dalek to be black, and either the black would crumple in the whatever lighting they use, so it would just look like you couldn't see shadows on it or anything.
Oh, sure.
Or B, they just couldn't get the material they wanted on the Dalek, so they made this metal plating instead to put around it.
I would have liked to have seen it at least be a bit more battle damaged.
Well, it was initially,
but I couldn't tell. Before it repaired itself, I had no idea it was damaged.
No, it was not easy to tell.
Like in previous versions of the script, it was supposed to like have its dome like half dented in.
Yeah.
They should have done that.
Yeah, I at least would have liked to have seen that.
In those versions of the script, it's not when it sucks the power, it's when Rose touches it that starts to, fix itself.
That would have been better, I think.
Yeah. Overall, I really like the bronze Dalek design. Of the Dalek designs, I think it's one of the stronger ones. But if I have one other complaint beyond the color, it's overly detailed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They kept the basic shape of a Dalek.
They kept the shape,
Right.
Yeah.
Other than the color, I kind of appreciate that it does look and feel more like a tank, which the suit has always been meant to be.
And I don't think you can complain about the Dalek being overly detailed because we've all seen the TARDIS console.
That's true.
Ugh.
So we have anything more on the Dalek?
Nope.
I don't think so.
So I guess setting?
We found some stuff out about the Time War.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Also, the UN is weirdly powerful in Doctor Who, almost like the EU, except America is also a member, and I just think that's really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's clearly a separate timeline now. There's no way you can argue it's not, but
I guess maybe that's tied to UNIT.
I mean, this is a world where UNIT has an armed military presence in countries that will shoot at people without provocation. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
I feel like the UN is maybe an actual world government in this
I think
universe.
so, because it has the control over the nukes too.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like a whole weird thing. I don't know. It's very strange. I just wanted to comment on it because it's not like the real world at all.
Doctor Who gets weird when you stop to think about it, and even when you don't.
Yeah. The museum is really cool. We don't get to see a lot of it though, and it's not really exploited all that well as a setting.
Yeah.
No.
I thought that was very unfortunate because that could have been really cool. A lot of the action takes place everywhere except there.
There is that one good scene at the end where the doctor's looking for a weapon.
Yes.
So he's in Henry's workshop and he's like, this is broken. This is broken. That's a hairdryer.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
cute. That was
That was
good.
a good gag.
There's actually very little humor on this one.
Right. That was good. I did like that.
That was a nice little joke.
That setting was nice. Were there any other Easter eggs in the museum, though?
I know of one, so it's kind of a Doctor Who Easter egg and also kind of not. There's a xenomorph in the museum.
Oh, wow.
A xenomorph egg.
There's also a regular xenomorph. They pass by it at one point.
Ah.
It's like in its baby state, like when it pops out of John Hurt's
Oh,
chest.
yeah. The chest burster.
And believe it or not, this is not the first time the Doctor has seen a preserved xenomorph in a museum.
So, E.T. is canon to the Star Wars universe,
Yes.
and xenomorphs are canon to the Doctor Who universe.
You know what this means? In Predator 2, there was like a very brief scene of a xenomorph skeleton on the Predator ship, and that launched like 5 Aliens versus Predator movies. So where's all our Doctor versus Predator movies?
This
Oh my god, that does mean that Predator is also
Yeah.
canon to
There-
the Doctor Who
I'll
universe.
also bring up why especially there's a xenomorph and xenomorph egg in specifically a Dalek episode,
yeah.
because it was almost Ridley Scott that designed the Daleks.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
covered that back when we covered the Daleks.
That's right. I forgot about that.
It's a call out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Callback.
callback. Cool.
Yeah.
So that means that Predators are canon in Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yes, Predators are canon. Dutch is canon.
I do need to explicitly state the Doctor in Classic Who
Yes.
met Frozen Xenomorph on the show. Like, that's not an EU thing. It's in the show.
Oh my god, do you guys realize what this means? Do you understand? Jesse Ventura exists in Doctor Who.
Man, you want to know something even weirder? The X-Men exist in Doctor
Yeah,
Who.
and so does Superman, because Superman fought the aliens.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And Batman fought Predator like 3 times.
There are in-canon X-Men comics where the Brigadier from Doctor Who just shows up, and at one point he even has a sonic screwdriver.
That sounds like a Chris Claremont thing. Was that a Chris
It is
Claremont
a Chris
thing?
Claremont thing.
Okay.
Chris Claremont was a huge Doctor Who
Yeah,
fan.
no, I know he
Book
was.
references and
I apologize for bringing us back from trying to make the Doctor Who universe version of the Snow Globe Kid, but
But it is the Snow Globe Kid.
Doctor Who cinematic universe when?
Yes. The Tommy Westfall universe is real.
and I'm sure that if we go long enough, we can easily connect the Doctor to it.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we already have. Okay, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. That is a whole other podcast.
That's the Tommy Westphal podcast.
Yes,
Coming soon.
yes.
Oh my god, guys, we actually need to make the Tommy Westfall podcast, an episode about all the things in the Tommy Westfall universe and how they connect.
Oh my god. Not today, Josh. Not
No.
today.
No.
Oh my god. Anything else about the museum?
I will say that the museum itself, probably the reason that it looks so good and so like museum is it was an unused exhibition hall in the National Museum of Wales.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so it's a real museum.
Yes. The rest of it, which they had a lot more time to film in, was done in the Cardiff Millennium Stadium.
So that makes sense why they couldn't spend too much time in the museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or do anything in it.
Yeah.
And also why the moment they leave the museum rooms, it looks like a series of generic hallways and stairwells.
Because it is. It's
Yeah.
like a generic bunker.
And incidentally, get used to that. NuWho especially loves generic hallways and stairwells.
Yeah, it's
No,
NuWho's
really?
rock quarries.
Yeah,
They're cheap in Cardiff.
yeah,
Okay, but I've also noticed that we're on Earth a lot. Like, is that going to be a thing?
yep. We're on Earth a lot, and we are in modern day London a lot,
Well, a year in the future.
No.
and modern day Wales a lot.
But I want to go back to like Skaro and like all the cool places.
Part of what Russell T Davies in his pitch for the show, it was that he wanted it to be almost 100% Earth centric.
Boring.
Can we find that guy and break his knees?
We live on Earth.
Yeah, I see we're really starting to turn on Russell.
I mean, not literally, but like I'd at least like to get a spray bottle and like
Yeah,
every time he does something irritating.
No.
I'm just going to be fair here. Now, in 2 of the eras that we're covering, we're basically stuck on Earth.
Yeah. But Earth is boring. I already live here.
Yeah, we live here. You can look outside and see it.
I will say we do get off Earth in the NuWho, but we do also get a lot of focus on modern day London. Apparently,
Not in this season.
we're off Earth in the next episode.
We're in the solar system
We're on
still.
satellite 5.
We're still in the solar system. We don't leave the solar system.
It's like the year 5000 or something.
We're still on Earth.
There's aliens.
Aliens are good. Anyway, well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
And this one was very bunkery looking.
It was.
Just like,
It was practically a bottle episode.
yeah, and except it wasn't. I'm sure it cost him a ton of money. And
Oh, yeah.
everything, but
I just mean conceptually. It was all.
it doesn't look pretty.
Yeah.
Doctor Who has a thing that the fandom calls base under siege episodes, where they just like hole up in a place and have
Well,
to.
yeah,
push
I mean,
off
we've seen that
invaders.
with Third, like a whole bunch.
Yeah. Third does it a lot.
But I want to see like the first Cushing movie where everything has an unusual color palette and it looks very distinctive and interesting. Like I want to see worlds that actually are alien.
Well, we'll get a couple.
Their
of
aliens
those.
look alien, which is good, but like
Yeah.
the worlds look very generic. I like that about First. He goes places.
Yeah, most other doctors do. We just somehow have wound up with 2 of the doctors who are mostly earthbound.
Okay, and then my next question is this. How long does the thing with all of the Daleks are gone and all of the Time Lords are gone last? And was it planned to be temporary from the start, or was it planned to be that they were really going to do that and then change their mind?
There's a couple answers to that, but allow me to directly answer both of those questions with one statement. Expect Daleks before the season is over.
Oof.
Whoa, that was quick. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
But I will say that even in the production of this episode, they weren't sure if Daleks were going to show up at all.
Come on, man. Really?
Really,
So, as they were planning to write this episode, the BBC and the estate of Terry Nation broke down in negotiations, and Terry Nation's estate pulled all rights for using the Daleks from the BBC.
the Daleks, we need to emphasize, are one of the few Doctor Who creations that are not actually part of the Doctor Who copyright. Terry Nation had a separate copyright for the Daleks, in part because of the movies and because of a planned TV show spin-off he was going to make that never surfaced.
And the Nation estate holds on to that copyright like it is gold dust, because it is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that makes sense.
So the big complaint that Tim Hancock, who was the agent at the time for the estate, said that they were deviating too greatly from Nation's concept of the Daleks.
I don't see that at all.
Well, not in this episode.
No.
Oh,
This
okay.
is about the wilderness years and the fact that the BBC, between their last appearance on the show in the 80s and 2005, they had used them in a lot of various advertisements and shorts. And the one that really pissed off the nation state was an appearance in Looney Tunes Back in Action.
I'm sorry, just Kari's face right there.
Wow. Geez, suddenly like Space Jam seems really reasonable.
Okay, to be fair, Looney Tunes Back in Action was a way better movie than Space Jam. I will stand by that.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
I can imagine the nation estate was not pleased that the Daleks were fighting Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
So then Shearman and Russell, rather than scrap the idea, rushed off an idea that he had been developing for a sphere-like creature that acted like a sadistic child and was a mutated version of humanity from the end of time. And they would have used that.
wow, he really just can't stop knocking off fat people, can he?
It was a flying ball.
Yes, I have a sketch that he drew. And
Now I'm just imagining the Baron from Dune.
No, I mean, it's literally a flying ball.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so it's a tiny Death Star.
Yes.
Basically.
Okay.
It's like the interrogation droid.
The idea initially was that, like, a proto-human from the end of time's head was inside it.
Oh, that's a very uncomfortable drawing of Eccleston now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little especially the legs. That's
Yeah, I'm looking at that going, ooh, that's
Yeah, but then the BBC got the rights back, and that is why Daleks have to appear in every season of NuWho now.
Mm.
well, I mean, that's not a bad thing. You can do a lot with them.
see what they do with them and then come back to me.
I mean, you can. I'm not saying that they did a good job.
Yeah.
So was it planned that the Daleks would show up from the beginning then or not?
Yes, if they got the rights, yes.
Okay.
Davies had initially wanted the whole Time War concept to be tied to the Daleks, in particular because it ties to a specific episode in the Fourth Doctor era where the Time Lords are afraid of the Daleks becoming so powerful that they could unseat the Time Lords at some point.
Right. More fan wanking. But
Yeah.
like, what about the Time Lords? Did he plan them to stay gone too or bring them back?
His plan was that they would stay gone.
Okay. So he wants Superman.
Yeah, he wants the Doctor to be the special.
And Davies changed on that very quickly, is all I'll say.
Good. Well, that's good.
Not quickly enough.
Does he get rid of a character you liked or
No,
something?
end of time is what I'm
Short
talking
version.
about.
Just give me the short version, Josh.
Well, hold on, Josh. Even before that, he had brought the Time Lords back.
He brought a Time Lord back.
That's the same thing. Anyway,
In End of Time, he turns Time Lord God into a frickin' dude with a power glove. That's my complaint.
Yeah,
Oh.
Timothy Dalton's character, right?
yeah.
Do not like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Then he turned the Master into Skeletor.
I think he always wanted to bring some Time Lords back.
Well, the Master, I think he always had planned.
Well, that's bringing Time Lords back.
That's one.
That's bringing snot snakes back. I don't know what you guys
That's bringing
talking about.
Time Lord back.
If you bring Zod back, that's not bringing back all Kryptonians.
He can be a snot snake and
Right.
still be a Time Lord.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting very diverted in this.
Yeah, we're getting in the weeds here.
Sorry, I had to know because I couldn't tell whether they were like planning this all along or whether like someone was just being a dumbass and decided to change their mind.
Both.
Okay, fair enough. Also, I noticed at least two. There's been at least two references to Bad Wolf, so clearly that's going to be a thing.
That's a thing.
I was spoiled that this was going to be a thing before, but not what it is. So like, don't spoil me too much on that. But I would have noticed anyway, because the last time it was literally painted on the TARDIS. So
What I
Yeah.
will mention is it being painted on the TARDIS was like someone just decided on that phrase. And when Davies saw it on the side of the TARDIS, he then added it into his plans for the series and retroactively started adding it into various scripts.
Oh, okay.
I will also say, Kari, you actually did notice in the Dickens episode, what's her name? The seer lady brought it up.
oh, did she?
Yeah, when she's seeing the future with Rose in it.
She says such dark things in your future, like the big bad wolf.
Oh yeah, she does. That's right. All right, so that's 3 times then at least. And
Yeah.
I could have easily missed some more in there too. Wow, they didn't plan that though. That's kind of embarrassing.
By this point, they had planned it.
Yes, what you have to remember is World War III Aliens in London was the first filming block.
Okay, so they did plan it fairly early on. That's
Yeah.
good. I'm just like, really, dude? You can't run a show and not have any idea what your first season arc is gonna be. That's embarrassing.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll say you shouldn't do that.
You should not know.
Okay.
Lots
Oh,
of people
God.
do.
You shouldn't do
like
that.
like Doctor Who people, BBC, I'm available if you want to hire me, because at least I wouldn't do that.
That's almost as crazy as, being tapped to write a Star Wars trilogy and not coming up with anything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God.
Writing the first movie in a Star Wars trilogy without planning what the next two parts are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy.
And then leaving and then coming back after a second movie was made.
And undoing everything.
Yeah.
And bringing back oh God, I hate that.
Our ADHD medication is just not.
It's the end of the day, Josh. How long do you think it lasts?
All right. Okay. Time
Not
for
forever.
Time for
ratings?
production. Production.
I don't have anything. We've talked
Yeah, me
about
neither.
everything I had.
We've already
The
kind
one
of gone
thing
into most
I
of
want to
it.
bring up is there is another callback in the episode in the music.
The callback is in the scene with Van Staten with the musical the musical instrument.
Oh, the little instrument that he plays.
Yep, it's a callback to a soundtrack in the third episode of the Daleks, when Susan runs into the
Thal guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I posted a link to the clip and I'll try and have it in the show notes.
That's nice. Okay.
Was that supposed to be a Thal instrument? Is that what they were?
No, it's
Lighting?
just a score.
It's just a callback, although it would be interesting if that were a Thal instrument. Anyway, you
Yeah.
said score. So let's talk about our scores episode.
Oh, you don't want to bring up the article that you asked me
Oh,
about?
right. One last thing. The Sun put out an article hyping up the new thing. Read the tagline to the article or the subtitle.
Are you going to read it? Read it.
Doctor Who robot baddie is blob of alien
The
goo.
Sun, a British newspaper, didn't know the Daleks aren't robots.
Oh my God. Okay, well, I feel less stupid now.
Did you actually read the text of this?
Yes, it's ridiculous.
Also, they kind of are now. So, okay.
They use the word sex-terminating.
Yeah,
What?
they do. It's the Sun.
What? I
Doctor
don't.
Who babe Billy Piper is out of this world, meeting a Dalek and sex terminating it.
She doesn't.
No, that's not what happened.
She looks so mind-blowing, its metal bonds exploded, revealing goo inside.
Also not what
Oh,
happened.
wow. Even for the Sun, that's really terrible.
Yeah.
I
And that's
think they
saying
just watched the
something.
Doctor Who porn and didn't realize it wasn't the show.
Yeah, it sounds like
Okay,
it.
I think on
Yikes.
that, we're going to the ratings. So we've got a scale.
Well, zero Daleks out of any for the Sun, but I'd say 3 for this episode because it was pretty
Yeah,
good.
I'd give it a 3 too. I think it's a solid episode.
I would actually give it 3.5.
3.5. Hey,
Mostly on Eccleston's
it
performance.
is a really good performance.
Eccleston was really
And
good.
I like that it was a kind of a smaller story.
Yeah, it
And I
helps.
actually appreciated that.
I'll go 3.
All right. Yeah, I
Good.
think we're all like, this is pretty solid.
If this
I
had not
liked
been a
it.
good episode, then I would have quit the podcast.
Well, we would have probably stuck more to the 60s and 70s.
Stop doing
Yeah.
NuWho.
Yeah, it was pretty rough going there for a while.
We needed a good
Word
one.
of warning, it's
Yeah.
going to be a little bit before we have a really good New Who episode again.
Fair enough.
But I
We'll get
promise
there.
you that at least one of them.
There were 3 episodes nominated for Hugo in this season, and this was one of them.
Yeah,
Fair.
And one
That's-
of them did end up winning the Hugo.
it was not
so-
this one.
but it wasn't
Nope.
this one. So we've got good things
Yes.
ahead of us. Okay.
The one that won was Aliens of London. No, I'm kidding. I am completely lying to you.
Don't even say that.
Don't even
Don't-
joke.
Okay.
Even like that's not
So
funny.
this has been our episode. If you liked it, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, tag, thumb up, whatever it is that you do on whatever it is that you're on. We're on Buzzsprout, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter.
We're on drugs.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
really.
Oh, it is actually factually true.
Only
Good
good
drugs.
ones though.
Yeah.
Remember, kids,
We are located in a sub-basin in Utah.
Well, I'm not.
if you want to watch the episodes for post 2005 series Doctor Who are available on HBO Max. I believe in Britain they are still available on iPlayer, but I could be wrong. They may also be on HBO Max. Check your whatever. You have Google. You can figure this out. You're smart people. I believe in you.
Wow. Being
I
harsh,
don't.
aren't
You're
you?
all fictional.
Anyway, next time we're jumping back to the 1970s.
Woohoo!
You mean the early 2000s?
And as we do so, we will be seeing the return of one villain that we've already covered and the dawn of another villain that we've already covered as we take a look at Terror of the Autons.
Ooh, the Autons are back. Hide your mannequins.
Well, hide from your mannequins. Until next
Yes.
time, remember to feed your TARDIS and don't torture aliens. Why would you torture aliens?
Give them a pink
Give
bow.
them a
It's
pink
much
bow.
better.
Don't torture them.
And don't claim that you own the internet.
No, that's dumb. No one will ever believe that.
Don't move. Don't do anything. It's beginning to question itself.